It's another day here in downtown Indianapolis for the 2023 NFL Scouting Combine, where the best prospects from college football all gather here to meet with general managers and head coaches of teams. They get to meet with media, and of course, they get to take the field at Lucas Oil Stadium for skills and drills in that 40-yard dash. Joined alongside DetroitLions.com writer Tim Twentyman, I'm Dannie Rogers. Today, it's special teams and defensive backs that will be taking the field, and we will break all of that down here soon. First up, the most fun part of the show, Tim, to feed your nerdy side, trivia question. Let's see what we got, because we'll be seeing kickers take the field.
I got it right yesterday.
You nailed it, actually. It was very impressive.
I can't believe I surprised you with that, too.
I know.
You seemed very surprised.
I
by
know.
my
I'm sorry.
knowledge.
I told you not to be offended by it. But here we go. Here's a trivia question. When was the last time the Detroit Lions drafted a kicker? It's going to come up there. There it is.
I know this one.
You did.
I was here.
You were here.
I covered it.
So it was in the last
in
30
the room.
years. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. You know I had to do that.
Wow.
I
Okay.
had to do that.
Okay, it's all right.
All right, Lions fans, ponder on that, because there is a
You
special
want me to
kicker.
answer it? Or?
No, don't.
Okay.
Don't.
I know it.
I'm not going to ruin
this
this time
one.
either.
This was an easy one.
Okay. So we will see kickers take the field later on. They're humans too, so we have to talk about them. We have to get, though, Tim, to the new coaches that are joining the Detroit Lions staff. It's coming together after several departures. You had running backs coach Deuce Staley leave for the Carolina Panthers. Defensive line coach Todd Wash followed suit. He also went to Carolina. And then John Morton, who was an offensive assistant,
All for
left.
family reasons, too.
All for family reasons. John Morton went to Denver Broncos as their passing game coordinator. So we have some new faces on staff. We're going to break them down for you real quick, because we had the chance to hear from the coordinators plus this guy, Scotty Montgomery, assistant head coach and running backs coach. We're going to hear from Dre Bly. We'll meet him soon in the building. And then, of course, Steve Hayden, who came from the Arizona Cardinals. So you've got Montgomery taking over running backs, Bly cornerbacks, and Hayden will be the new tight ends coach. And Tim, we got to hear from coordinators plus Scotty Montgomery yesterday. I heard you over talking earlier. Montgomery is very impressive.
Very impressive.
I'll tell you his story of coming from the hardworking South, what his mom Vera instilled in him, and then the fact that his wife is from Detroit.
Yes.
This job means a lot to Scotty Montgomery. What'd you take from him?
A really impressive guy, just all the way around. I think Lions fans are going to love. I asked him what his two philosophies are. What does he want his running back room to be known for? He said, "We're going to protect the quarterback and protect the football. Everything else will come after that." He's a hard-nosed guy. I love the fact that he was a former head coach, former offensive coordinator, former quarterbacks coach. So when you're in that running back room, I think he can relate to just the whole scheme of the offense, because he's been in every single room. And so I think the running backs are certainly going to benefit from that, and I think he's a great hire.
Yeah, Scotty Montgomery coming from the Colts. So here in Combine, pretty convenient for him, because he's still been in Indy. So that was a nice little short drive for him.
And look what he did with Jonathan Taylor, helping.
Oh, he
to
gushed
make him,
about Jonathan Taylor yesterday.
Yeah. And, when you have a talent like that, and he talked about finding
Welcome back. I think we have it all situated now,
Third time's
Tim.
a charm, right?
Third time's a charm. Thanks to everyone who stuck around watching Tim's duck face for 15 minutes. We really
and then
appreciate
no audio.
that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Hey,
it's fine. We're bringing you audio here. We're good. There's a lot of rain coming down in Indy right now.
The weather's bad.
Horrible.
The whole building went out. Technical difficulties.
NFL Network went down, so we're fine.
We're all right.
Okay, we were talking about the addition of Scotty Montgomery, his time coaching, Jonathan Taylor there with the Colts. We also got to sit in with the coordinators, the other coordinators for Detroit. You had Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Dave Phipp. Got a lot of good nuggets from them, but we're going to see some kickers out on the field today.
Yes.
So what was your biggest takeaway from Dave Phipp yesterday?
I got because I asked him, the difference between a guy who's been kicking a long time and some of these young guys. And I got the impression from Phipp he values the experience a little bit more. But obviously, if a talented young guy comes in like Jake Moody from Michigan or somebody like that, guy with a big leg, because that, Michael Badgley was a really consistent kicker last year,
Yep.
but doesn't have the big leg.
Right.
59 yards, 1 second to go. That or a Hail Mary. What would
Which
you
one are you
do?
going with? Yeah.
Which would you do? So I think that's the only thing. But look, really consistent. Brought a calming effect to that room, into that position,
Yes, I
especially
agree.
after some early season kind of hiccups with some guys
Yep.
that didn't pan out. So I think it'll be an interesting decision for Phipp and
Mm-hmm.
Holmes, whether they go with that kind of veteran guy who's got the experience or the young big leg kid.
Sure thing. We will get more into Jake Moody and his stats and everything, but we heard from Jake Moody and the defensive backs who will be taking the field in Lucas Oil Stadium. So Coach Phipp, Coach AG, they will have very busy days on their hands. Let's hear from those two position groups. In a moment, we will. Let's talk about Jake Moody.
Let's talk about Jake Moody.
All right, yes, his stats are incredibly impressive. He has, he's the extra point god, 100% from extra points in his career at
I would
Michigan.
hope so. A little different in college than it is in the pros.
How so?
They're still at the 2-yard line, and it's still only a short little extra point.
148 for 148.
So still pretty good.
Yeah, consistent.
Not one being blocked, not anything, but yeah, I mean it's a 20-yard field goal, which you would hope that guys at that level
You would hope, yes.
make all the time. But 69 of 84 from field goal range, 82%. That's obviously really good. And the interesting, Danny, about kicking in college versus kicking in the pros is it's actually easier to kick in the pros. If you think about where the hash marks are in college, they're spread out much farther than they are in the NFL.
Okay.
So you have some weird angles sometimes with kicks. The NFL and Phipp will say the same thing. It's actually easier to kick in the NFL because the hash marks it's more of a straight kick. You see some of the hash marks there outside the goalpost in the NFL, they're almost at the goalpost there. You see some of these angles that they have to kick at. So pretty much any kicker will tell you, and I asked Jake Moody about this too. He said, yeah, it's easier. They're all straight kicks in the NFL. So if you're a good kicker in college, typically you'll stay pretty consistent, if not maybe a little bit better in the pros. But look, he's his longest 59 yards. He's got a really big
59.
leg. He's been consistent, and so depending on what they do with Badgley or a veteran, I think he's one of those guys. I think there's maybe a couple guys in this draft that could be drafted. You start the 5th, 6th round. Lions got 2 6th-round picks, so maybe in that area you start to think about it if it fits. But it'll be interesting. He's certainly one of the better ones, and all those Michigan fans are certainly sorry to see him go because he had a big leg. He was accurate. He won a lot of games
for a million
Wolverines.
years.
Yeah.
Give him up, Wolverine fans. We heard from Jake Moody yesterday as he embarked on Indy. He will work out today on the field. I think there's some coverage of the kickers in the combine, right?
Yeah.
You get to see him.
Yeah, just see a little bit of it.
A little
See
bit.
some kicks, and
A hint of it.
Look, he would love to be drafted by the Detroit Lions. Grew up in Northville, right? A big Lions fan. He told a story yesterday that was pretty funny. He was in high school and he got a text message from some friends that Calvin Johnson and Matt Prater were at a local pizza place,
goats
eating, and he jumped in his car and raced to the pizza place to go talk to Matt Prater.
Yeah.
And he went right up to Matt Prater, was talking to Matt Prater.
Because no one else was talking to Matt Prater.
No, and it got to a point where Calvin interrupted to introduce himself because Jake Moody really didn't have any interest in Calvin Johnson, the Hall of Famer.
And you must
it was
be
Matt
pretty-
Prater, the kicker,
Yeah.
that Jake Moody was interested in talking to. He actually kicked with Prater during COVID.
Yep.
They found a spot. So interesting story. He's always been a Lions fan. He said he'd love it, be indoors and be close to home. So we'll see if it pans out that way.
I actually love that story to know that Calvin Johnson and Matt Prater were BFFs
I
going
know,
out to
right?
lunch. That might be actually my favorite part of it. All right. Okay. Finally, we have heard from Jake Moody. He was at the podium yesterday, as well as the defensive backs, which there was no surprise. Detroit needs to look at that position group in this upcoming class, and they've got some pretty great options to choose from. Let's hear what they had to say.
I feel like I'm worth a draft pick. It's hard to come by a kicker that, is worth getting drafted, but I think that I possess all the tools needed for that. And, if it were up to me, I would draft myself. I grew up just down the road from Detroit. I was a Lions fan growing up, and that'd be pretty cool. And, it's a plus that they play indoors. Obviously, it's nice for a kicker, but I'm happy anywhere I end up. There's actually a funny story. I grew up in Northville, Michigan, and there was like a local pizza place, and my friends were texting me that Matt Prater and Calvin Johnson were at this pizza place in my hometown for some reason. So, I threw on a coat, ran out the door, quickly got to the pizza place, and I went straight for Matt Prater and was only talking to him. And it got to the point where Calvin Johnson had to introduce himself to me because I just wasn't as interested, I guess, in talking to him. But when I was kicking with Prater back in COVID, he was still the snapper, and so he was coming out to the field as well. So I got, some work with him when he was still playing, and now seeing him as a scout or, a coach, it's kind of weird, but it's always good seeing him. And I also looked up to him growing up as well. He was one of the GOATs in my opinion, but it's cool seeing him on the other side now.
Just consider myself a competitor in all aspects, regardless of the fact. Just like you just said, it's a lot of dogs in this group. I'm just trying to make sure that I come up on top. Just trying to make sure I compete in every aspect of this week. Definitely, I feel like I'm gonna get my hands on some balls this year. Make sure that I stay just disciplined, and make sure I'm in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, they just tell me that it's real. This is a legitimate job. You're not a student anymore, so everything you do from your study habits, your practice habits, even though I was good at in college, they were like, you got to turn it up 10 times more because now this is legitimately your job. This is how you feed yourself, feed your family, things of that sort. So just taking that next step and growing as an individual as well. NFL locker room, I feel like I bring the capabilities of being a future team captain, and then on the field, somebody who's aggressive to the ball on the ground and in the air, and I feel like that's what separates me from a lot of guys in this class. I feel like I do a lot of things very good on the football field, but I also feel like I have the potential to do a lot of them at a very, very high level as well. I feel like I'm confident in all of them. I don't think I lack any skills to where I couldn't shine in any of the schemes. So I feel like anywhere I go, I can shine and be a very good player for whatever team it is.
I'm a fast, physical corner for my size, and I like to create turnovers, and I do my job really well. A lot of consistency and ball production. I do a lot of ball things during the week, and it just allows me to make the plays in the game.
Yeah, big resource, That's someone in my direct family that I can talk to that has been through the process of playing in college, been in the league. It's somebody that I talked to growing up all the time. He was always around the house. I remember playing with him when I was 10 years old, just running around, throwing the ball. So it's just all come full circle, and it's been great to have him in my corner. I mean, I appreciate that, but it was work. It's work day in and day out. This is what I wanted to do my whole life. So when it's something you want to do, is nothing that's gonna stop you. So just shout out to my guy Flight. That's my trainer. We've been through a lot, and he got me to where I am today. So I'm real thankful for him.
You're just gonna get a competitor that likes to compete at anything he do. I kind of get down like my dad on the field and like my mom off the field. So I'll say that's a good mix. I'll say I'm a physical press corner that's gonna get in your face and do my job and do it well. Just to be myself, no matter what. There's people always gonna make comparisons, so I have my name, he has his name for a reason, and just do what I love to do, and that's play football. That's very important. That's what we do as a corner, is to make turnovers. But if you can't do that, then you better hold that guy to at least under 100. It's very important to me. I feel like I'm CB1 for a reason. I feel like I'm the best corner here, so I'm just here to really show my talents and prove why.
Just kind of how big we are and how willing we are to tackle. Most corners, they don't really like to tackle. They're more like cover guys, and I feel like that's what separates me and him is we'll both come down and hit you.
Man, continuously be to be a great competitor. I feel like as a corner, you have to be a fearless type person, and I feel like it's high risk, high reward. Of course, being an offensive lineman or running back, if somebody was to miss a block and the quarterback gets the ball off at the right timing and early, and then it's a great play and they can score a touchdown. But man, as a corner, going out there and knowing that you have the utmost confidence in yourself, and if you take one wrong step, it could possibly be a touchdown. So just coming out there with that swagger, and just believing in yourself and having the utmost confidence every single time you step out on that field. Me personally, no matter where I go, I definitely have the winner type mindset, man, and being able to do my job. And I feel like if I'm able to do that, then I feel like I'll definitely be able to give my team the best foot forward and hopefully winning. I would say my determination to win, my competitiveness. I feel like I fight against adversity like no other, and so I'm just continuing to work. And I feel like I always have room to grow, especially how young I am. I feel like my upside is definitely there, 100%. So
it's been tough, just the combine and just the workouts and stuff like that. But I know it'll all benefit in the end.
It's also been fun just knowing that I'm one of the top guys in the NFL draft, and I'm just trying to focus on being me. I just know I'm confident, I'm physical, I love the game of football, I'm smart, I love to study, just try to get the edge on my opponent. I'm just energetic, just very passionate about what I do. Play with that chip on your shoulder, don't matter how highly recruited you are, it doesn't matter. If you're a dog on the football field, they'll come find you. So.
Now joined by the head coach of Purdue football, Ryan Walters, and also the former defensive coordinator of Kerby Joseph with the Detroit Lions, and then, of course, Devon Witherspoon, who has been mock drafted to the Detroit Lions as cornerback. Coach, I want to start with Kerby Joseph first. You were able to have him for a year there at Illinois. Before this past offseason, you took the head coaching job at Purdue. What's the first word that comes to mind when you think of Kerby Joseph?
Kerby is super confident in his own skin and who he is as an individual, as a player, and as a result, he just would pull the trigger, faster than I see anybody I've coached. Great ball skills, obviously, and has an incredible array of gymnastics expertise.
Yes, so he sure does. What was your favorite moment from Kerby this past season, and why was it him picking off Aaron Rodgers 3 times?
That was my favorite moment.
Okay, good.
I actually got the last time they played the Packers, that game, he signed that jersey and sent it to me, so that was pretty special.
He did?
So just hanging up in my office right now. Yeah.
Aww. What was sticking out to you about Kerby, or when was a moment, maybe the last year he was at Illinois, that you're like, hey, he will do really well in the NFL?
Yeah, so we were playing against Virginia, and it was a rough game, but he made a play in the post that I hadn't seen anybody make. And so from that point moving forward, we changed the defense to put Kerby in those situations. Wow. And through 8 games, I think he had 5 picks and was first team All Big Ten, and obviously got drafted by you guys, and ended up starting and playing well his rookie year.
Because I saw 0 interceptions, and then that final year, 5, like you just mentioned. So it's like you can switch that.
Yeah.
Does that kind of, I don't know, humble a coach when you can see that? Maybe it was almost this easy, but you've got to have talent that shows that too.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, it's gratifying when you see the work that you pour into it sort of being manifested and the players on the field, and then helping them reach their potential and their dreams. And so, anytime you can help somebody achieve those things, those are lifelong bonds that won't ever be broken.
I want to get to Devon Witherspoon, who you spent 2 years coaching there at Illinois. He is projected the #1 cornerback in this league, or in this draft class, and I know the Detroit Lions are taking a look at him. When you think about Witherspoon and what he can do in the NFL, what do you think he will excel at?
Just what you see on tape is what you get with Spoon, and he's like that every day. There's no off switch. He's energetic, he's loud, he's boisterous, he's confident, ultra aggressive. And he's one of the smartest defensive backs I've ever been around. And so I think, his game will translate to the league. What we did defensively, schematically, is exactly what teams are doing in the NFL in terms of playing man and zone, and being able to play multiple spots. You can play in the slot, you can play on the outside, and he accepts the challenge of playing man coverage.
I know man coverage has been kind of one of the calling cards for him. He does really well with it. Was there ever a play that really just impressed you so much with that?
Yeah, so we went to go play Nebraska, and they had I think his name was it Trey Palmer, one of the receivers that was lighting it up, and I was like, Spoon, you want to follow him everywhere you go? He's like, absolutely, coach. So you look up at the end of the day, at the end of the game, and he only had 1 catch for 1 yard.
Wow.
So, and like I said, Spoon just followed him everywhere all day.
And I think that was the only 1 yard he had in man coverage that he gave up.
Yeah.
Extremely impressive. You talked about him being one of the smartest players you've coached. Is there an instance or a moment where he showed that off to you?
I mean, he showed it every day, especially in practice. He was able to, say he's the corner to the field. Just based on the formation, he could tell what route concepts we were about to get. And so he's echoing, what those concepts were, all the way to the boundary side. And then, if somebody messed up in practice, I couldn't get to him before Spoon did. So, he really understood what we were doing defensively, and as a result was able to play aggressive within the scheme.
What do you think him and possibly Kerby Joseph teaming up in the same DB room could mean for the Detroit Lions.
I mean, we had the number one pass defense in college football, in large in part because of those two guys. And so I think if they're back together again, it would bode well, and hopefully the history repeats itself, and so that trend will probably continue.
I'm a Detroiter, born and raised. We're tough, we're strong, we're resilient. In a D, we carry this team on our shoulders.
Detroit is a football town. We're a football city. And I am so excited because we're coming. It's coming.
Yes! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Tim, if Detroit decides to go with Devon Witherspoon, him and Kerby are going to have to duke it out for number 31. Who do you think gets it?
Kerby gets it. Goes to the veteran.
Okay.
You know, those highlights, you know what I love about that?
Yeah.
The tackling.
Yeah.
The physicality.
It kind of looks like Kerby a little bit too.
That's what jumps out with Witherspoon when you watch him.
Yeah. Coach Walter saw my little pros and cons sheet yesterday. He's like, what cons do they have on Devon Witherspoon? I'm like, well, Coach, it says he might be a little too aggressive at some times. But he's like, no.
I'll take it.
He's like, he'll be fine in the NFL.
If that's your biggest problem, then...
Sounds like a Dan Campbell guy.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? All right, Tim, there are some top cornerbacks in this class. We talked about it. There's a very good chance Detroit drafts a cornerback at number 6. That is a need, of course, that they have.
I think it's their biggest need.
Biggest need, exactly. So you got Devon Witherspoon. He is the number 1 cornerback rated right now in this year's class. 92 PFF rate overall, 3 interceptions this year. You've also got Joey Porter Jr. there from Penn State. 11 passes defended, first team All Big Ten. And then you've also got Christian Gonzalez of Oregon. He's actually the brother of Melissa Gonzalez, the wife of former Detroit Lions backup quarterback David Blau, which is a pretty cool story. So this class, this defensive class as a whole is great. What are you seeing from these cornerbacks?
Yeah, I agree with Witherspoon being the top guy, and I think he is a candidate for Detroit at number 6. You've got Jeff Okudah, you've got Jerry Jacobs. After that, then not a whole lot, and so you need a couple. I think they do it in free agency and the draft. I think Witherspoon is plays bigger than what he actually is. You look at the coverage grade right there. He just there's really few holes in his game besides maybe some questioning his size, but again, he plays much bigger than that. And you look at the ball skills. He really has it all, and the physical nature in which he plays the game, comes up and supports the run. That's a must if you're going to play for Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell in the secondary. You got to be able to play the run. And so, look, he's an aggressive guy. Look at that, just sticking guys. Doesn't mind laying the wood, hitting, can cover, breaks on the ball. It's got really the whole package, and so I think he's a candidate at 6. And then we talk about Gonzalez and Porter Jr. I think those are definitely the top 3 guys. And with Gonzalez and Porter, you gotta love the size, right? And that's kind of where the league is trending with some of those cornerbacks. Each of those guys is 6'2". You look at Porter Jr. You love the football IQ when you watch tape, and obviously he's got the pedigree. His dad, Joey Porter, spent a lot of time in the NFL, and I always love guys like that who grew up around the game in the locker room. A father who taught them how to play the game the right way and knows some of the little secrets to being one of the elite football players in the country. But you look at him in the production too. I mean, he allowed just 15 receptions and 275 coverage snaps, 0 touchdowns. And then look again, you love the size, right, and the length, and the ability to play the ball. And with Christian Gonzalez, it's the same thing for me. Again, a guy who's 6'2", probably has the smoothest back pedal of any cornerback in the draft. When you watch his tape, just the way he backpedals, really loose hips, can turn and run, and we're going to see it. 4 interceptions, and again, really good ball skills, and you love that size, that ability to go up and snag a football like you see right there. Good instincts, and I think between Witherspoon, Gonzalez, and Porter Jr., I think those are the first 3 cornerbacks off the draft, and I really wouldn't be surprised if all 3 are off the draft before the Lions pick again at 18. So when you talk about at number 6, if you want one of these elite guys,
you need Chicago to trade back and let other teams take quarterbacks.
It might have to be at 6 or maybe move up a little bit, because I don't know if these top 3 guys make it to 18. I think they're that talented.
That's impressive. Tim, there's a plethora of cornerbacks in this draft. We're giving a lot of love to the Big Ten guys, but you also have a few more DBs that could go early in this draft as well.
There's a lot.
Ringo, Garrett Williams, Cam Smith. So multiple players up there. We'll take a look at them right now so you can see them and digest it.
And that's just a handful. There's probably 3 or 4 more names that could right there be on that list of guys who could be late first round, early day 2 guys. This cornerback class is stacked.
Yeah, DJ Turner at Michigan covered Michigan this past year. No one spends more time in the playbook, looking at the playbook, than DJ Turner, is what Jim Harbaugh said.
He's one that I think will do well down here. He was on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. He's probably going to be a 4.2, a low 4.3, could potentially be a 4.2 maybe type guy. He's going to fly. So I think he's a guy that'll have a good week. But teams are going to have to study his tape a little bit. I think he's maybe later in day 2, potentially day 3. But wanted to include him because I think he's going to have a really good combine.
All righty, we will see that coming up very soon. All right, we have to move to safeties. Tim, we talked about it. We're not ruling out that Detroit could draft a safety. There's a very high probability that they do. Who's high up on that list that Detroit should be taking a look at?
Well, you love Kerby in the rookie season he had. You hope Tracy comes back and is the same player. Had the Achilles injury week 3. Looks like he's ahead in his recovery from that. So
he looks great.
You love the combination of those two. And Aaron Glenn was kind of excited about when we talked to him yesterday about the potential of those two. But after that, obviously, you need some depth. Right?
I know.
You've got to get that. So to me, some of the top guys, Brian Branch, J.R. Brown, Jordan Battle, Sidney Brown, a guy I really, really love in this draft.
I talked with Coach Walters about Sidney too.
He was really impressive when we talked to him yesterday at the podium. Just, really confident guy. I think he could be the best athlete of that group. A guy who had 6 interceptions last year. I think he's versatile. I think he can play in the box. He can play in the slot. He can play the deep safety. And talking with Aaron Glenn yesterday, one of the things he said was, I want a safety that can play the nickel. I want a versatile guy. Okay. And so I think maybe that's something they'll be looking at when we start to look at these safety prospects. Look for guys that played in the nickel, but also played safety. Guys that did a lot of different things and are versatile. Sidney Brown is certainly one of those guys. See him bring back the pick 6 against Michigan State there. But just look at that. I mean, his ability to run, cover, step in front, ball skills, 6 picks, second most in the country. So a really good guy. But Jair Brown is also a guy too that can take the football away. He had the nickname the Takeaway King because of the 10 interceptions he had over the last 2 seasons. But I think that versatility that we talked about with safety and being able to play different spots, I think he showed that in his film last year. You see him being able to come up and stick the run, but also he had 7 tackles for loss and 4.5 sacks.
Wow.
To go along with the 4 interceptions. So, a guy that can play up, a guy that's got ball skills, a guy that comes up and supports the run, can be a great blitzer from the 4.5 sacks, and a guy that can bring the wood. So I think this is it's not a deep safety group, but I think at the top there's guys with a lot of versatility, and I think that's kind of where defenses are heading with all these quarterbacks that can run now, with all these dynamic athletes on offense. I think defensive coordinators and defenses are looking for terrific athletes, guys that can run, but guys that can also do different things and play multiple positions to kind of counteract some of these running quarterbacks and the dynamic athletes we're seeing on the offensive side of the ball.
I love that Sidney Brown impressed you. He has a twin brother, by the way, who's also in this draft as a running back. Just very elite brothers. But when I
grew up in Canada.
Yes, Canadians.
So he obviously had ice skates as a kid, right? Not hockey skates, though.
Ice skates?
Ice skates, yes.
Oh, my
His
gosh.
mom was a figure skater. So him and his brother,
love it.
figure skating when they were younger.
That
he
is
said he didn't do it
impressive.
for long. Got to the point where he was doing
I didn't do it for long either.
Doing
It's fine.
some spins,
Yeah. I'll tell people I did it, though. That's impressive.
But just an impressive guy all the way across.
No, talking to
Really
Coach
good guy.
Walters yesterday, who coached Sidney Brown for the last 2 seasons, said he has the same exact thing for breakfast every morning. I'm like, Coach, what is it? He rattled it off. It's like bison burger meat, exact eggs. This guy means business, and he's got a schedule, and he sticks to it, and that just sounds like an NFL player already.
He was good at the Senior Bowl, too, which I think is always important. That's why I love going down to that event, because it's not like here where you're seeing guys just running a straight line in shorts. You know what I'm saying? Doing a few
pajamas,
drills.
according to head coach.
They're actually
Shane
practicing and playing football and doing stuff, and when you stand out in that role, and then you come here and are impressive, too, I think that just checks off the box.
Alrighty, I'm excited to watch these DBs get to work. We know Detroit needs one. We'll see who might be left at number 6 overall, or even number 18 there in the first round. Detroit's first 2 picks. Tim, before we wrap up today, we've got to get back to the trivia question
Yes.
because the kickers will take the field later on. And just down the street, Michigan Wolverine Jake Moody is in this draft. So trivia today, when was the last time the Lions drafted a kicker?
2014,
Round?
7th round, Nate Freese, Boston College.
Okay.
I remember it.
2014.
Didn't stick around very long,
No.
unfortunately. So maybe, a decade later you re-up on that. So we'll see what they
I don't
what
think
they-
Jake
what
Moody
they
will stick
decide.
around until the 7th round. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Someone not waste a draft pick. Someone do a draft
Use a
pick.
draft pick.
Use a draft pick on Jake
Yes.
Moody. It's not a waste. And that's my only thing. Maybe Detroit will do it. Maybe they'll pull it.
I mean, I mean, when you're talking about day 3, you're talking about, like, how I view the draft is your first 3 rounds, those guys have to be starters. Your first round pick, 7th round, third round, sixth. Do you view those as starters
Even
or
third round?
or contributors?
Okay.
Key contributors. In the 4th and 5th and later, you're just looking for traits. You're looking for backup guys that you think fit a scheme or a role, or they've got really great athletic traits. And with Moody, it's one of the bigger legs of a kicker coming into the league in
Who's
some
been in
time.
big moments, too.
He's been in big moments, and the fact that he kicked for Michigan,
Yeah.
Midwest, outdoors, weather. That's another thing that, when you go and kick some of these late season games, some of these cold games, some of these guys in the SEC who maybe played college indoors don't have a lot of experience kicking in bad weather. So I think that's another thing that Jake Moody's got over some of these other guys, too, is performing in not the greatest of conditions.
Okay. Well, that's enough our kicker talk. I just hope someone takes Jake Moody.
You went to Michigan, didn't you?
I did. I
Yeah.
did. I watched Jake Moody. I feel like he was there when I was there, but that would be a little bit too long ago. He's been there for a while. I'll say that.
I see why you like him.
Yeah, great kid. Great kiddo. Big thanks to Tim Twentyman for joining us here on the Detroit Lions Live Combine Show coming up. Tomorrow, we will be checking in on the quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends. That tight end class, woohoo, it's impressive, isn't it?
Really impressive. I think Daniel Jeremiah, who does a great job with the NFL Network,
Phenomenal.
said he's got a 3rd round grade or better on 11 tight ends in this class. 11.
When's the last time we saw that?
It's the
Never.
best. It's the best tight end group in probably a decade, if not more.
Okay, this
Really
will
good.
be interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
we cannot wait to see them take the field, and we'll have more analysis tomorrow on our Detroit Lions Live show. So tune in there. Make sure you check out Detroit Lions social media so you never miss a show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.